Yeah.
We will have you right here, sir.
Looks
Hey,
like
my name is Callison. You have about 15 minutes.
Caesar flipping
Oh,
from
hey, guys.
Hunger Games.
Hey.
How's it going?
Good, sir.
Long time no talk.
All right.
Zach Callison here, looking ill.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What inspired you to wear that today? What made you go, yes, this is the one?
Well, this is just my style now. I'm really getting into fashion and music as well. I'm doing some alt rock music that's going to be coming out later this year, and I'm really trying to craft an aesthetic. And the designer of it is a friend of mine.
Awesome.
His father was Elvis's clothier, so they do like rock and roll stuff out of Memphis. And I was just down there and
Yeah.
hooked me up with this.
Was it your first time in Memphis?
In like 15 years, yeah, I was really small the last time I lived through.
So your first actual time?
Yeah, it was really cool though. We were there for a convention, so there was a lot of Stevie fans. I got to go by this and get some stuff.
Nice. So, first question about the actual show. So, over the series, Steven has grown up while still maintaining a certain innocence. How do you portray a character that is able to hold on to that innocence in the face of so much horror going on around him?
You know, Steven at his core is this, he has that childlike wonder and that caring for all his friends, and that's a core part of who he is. It's, I feel like he'll always have a little bit of that childlike energy in his character, just because he's always been very happy-go-lucky. But it's the things that happen to him that test the character and change it over time and make him more serious, make him more practical. I mean, that's the dynamic of the show, and his arc is those two forces fighting against each other. You see a big difference in just the episodes around town versus the episodes where all this horrible stuff is happening. It's hard for him to maintain that. I think that's one of his major struggles in the show.
Because of all that, change and all the kind of tumult has been in the last several episodes, definitely. Is there something you as a voice actor for this character wanting to see him maybe at the end of like this specific storyline?
I try not to do that as much. I don't even read the storyboards before the sessions anymore. I really like to discover it in the moment. And the writers are really good at their job, so it's hard for me to theorize. But obviously, I want some sort of closure for Steven and all the questions he has. But it's very hard because a lot of them don't have answers because the Gems don't know, he doesn't know, his father doesn't know. They're there to support, but they've reached a point where there's only so much they can tell him. And learning about his mom and things he didn't realize, things aren't as they seem. It's hard for him to process all that. So I hope that he just finds some contentedness and some peace at some point.
One thing I've noted about the show is there are a lot of episodes where Steven will be, kind of narrating what's happening as it goes along, just because he might be the only speaking character on the screen for minutes at a time.
Right.
How do you approach that challenge as a voice actor to keep that interesting?
It's tough because it's a lot of examples of expository dialogue that in any medium is really hard to make legitimate and not explanatory. And the writers do a really good job of keeping it natural. It's I talk to myself a lot. I feel like he has liberty to do that as well. But the show is. The show is called Steven Universe, but it is literally from the perspective of Steven. There's no episode in the entire show where we're not seeing the show through Steven's eyes. So I think, that device of having him, speak to himself and, sort of inform the audience of exactly what's going on. It's also a kid's show, and it helps in that way. But I think that's even more justification for it because the show is Steven's POV always, and it never goes through. Which is something I didn't realize until Rebecca needed to explain to me. It's a writing device that they use. It's genius. It's amazing.
So you've been voicing Steven for about 4 years now.
We did the pilot 5 years ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So what's the most challenging thing about voicing Steven in season 4?
By season 4, my voice change had finished, and I really. Found a way to be stable in that. It's still tough. I get sick a lot. I've never had a great immune system, so I always have to be really careful with, when I come in to record and, taking care of my voice as much as possible. Playing the character is much easier by comparison now, just because he lives in my head, and I've spent so much time with the character that it's second nature. It's harder to do new characters because you haven't been able to give them that time they deserve. I'd say it's more the physical limitations than the emotional or mental capabilities.
How has growing up with Steven changed you?
I always talk about the arc of my life versus the arc of Steven's life. We've both sort of grown up alongside each other. I think it's affected, on Steven's end, it's affected that arc and my ability to act in it because I've been able to relate to a lot of his struggle, finding who he is and, growing up with a lot of additional responsibility placed on his shoulders. I think it's been a very interesting dynamic, and Rebecca said early on that they wanted a real kid to play Steven, and that's a benefit of doing that. Is I'm getting the real kid experience like Steven is. On my side of things, just from a life perspective, I mean it's opened so many doors for me. It's been an amazing learning opportunity to be around people who view art in a very I don't know what the right word is. They're artists with a purpose, and they really care about the messages that they're putting out and have a passion for the work they do. And just that experience alone of working with the other people on Steven Universe has been very formative for me.
I have like a kind of a two-parter.
Sure.
I want to know what your favorite aspect of Steven is, whether it's physical, personality, or otherwise, and what was the thing that shocked you the most in reading the scripts going through the season so far?
I love that he has a sense of humor even in like the worst situations, and also that he always gives people a chance. It's a great example is in Bismuth. He's fighting her and he throws something at her and he yells, "Bismuth, look out!" But they're fighting and she's actively like trying to get him. It's just very insightful to who Steven is as a person. Violence is always the last resort. And he will always try to talk it out first, for better or for worse. It doesn't always go the way he wants it to. Your second question was...
What was the thing that shocked you the most?
The whole Lars thing, most recently, was a tough one. I knew about it coming up, too, like a few weeks in advance, and all of a sudden, like, oh, dead on screen, that's a little rough. But it was in a good way. It was very dramatic, and the scene was a challenge and a good way to act. I call that actor candy. The writers gave us a lot of it on the show, which is very fortunate.
What was it like for Steven to like kind of Jesus Lars back to life?
It was Jesus is a word. It was really cool. The relationship between Steven and Lars has always been a little rocky. Steven is always the one wanting to be his friend, and Lars has not always been there. And there's been times where he's been insecure in who he is, but I feel like it really cemented their friendship, which has been rocky at times and hasn't always been clear as day. But I love any time I get to be with Matt Moy in the booth and Steven and Lars get to interact, because it's an example of Steven trying to talk to someone and bridge that gap, and it works sometimes. Like with some of the newer gems, Lapis and Peridot, he's really spoken to their soul. But with Lars, he's always tried to distance himself in a lot of ways. And it was a very rough moment, but I think their relationship might be stronger for it.
Sure.
Did you have any real life Larses in your life to whom you were the Steven? And have you been a Lars to someone else's Steven?
To answer your question, I've never resurrected someone from the dead. Not yet. There's a lot of life left to live, so we'll see. I mean, I've had friends, in childhood who were, trying to be cool, and they didn't want to hang out with like the little, like spazzy, tiny kid that I was up until I was like last week. I didn't grow for a very long time, but I had that all the time. It wasn't bullying per se, but it was like, oh, like I have to be cool, and you're not cool. I don't want to be around you, and I sort of understand that dynamic because of that. Not naming any names.
You know who you are.
Yeah. Totally.
So you're actually quite the musician. Like I read you play piano, and now you're dabbling in alt rock. Do you ever play any of the music in the studio?
Do I play any of the Steven music?
Yeah. Or
I have not learned any of the songs from the show. You say or
just for fun, like any songs that you play.
Oh yeah, I love doing covers. I took them all down because they were videos of me being very young, but on YouTube. I was known as the Drops of Jupiter kid in my friend circle for a while because I would always do that cover at shows. I'm playing less covers than I should. I want to take some time to learn more sometime soon, but it's been all about writing for me lately. Writing songs, getting in the studio with my producers, making them happen. I'm really serious about making this music thing a big part of what I do. I just have a huge passion for it. So dropping the single this fall, ideally, is the current plan, and then from there, start gigging and do what I love.
Are you going to be recording under your own name?
Yeah, it'll be under Callison. It's it's band music. Like I will be hiring a band for my live shows and doing it the rock way. But I've done the actual band thing before, and it's impossible to keep together, and everybody disagrees on stuff. So I just decided to become a creative tyrant and and take over the reins.
And then you mentioned that you were doing the Zach Callison show. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, thank you for asking. Yeah, that's in the works right now. We were just doing some shooting earlier this week, actually. It's a sketch comedy show about making a sketch comedy show. So it's very meta. We have our digital short sketches and our live on stage sketches, and also these intros that there's sort of a character development aspect where I'm playing a characterized version of myself without giving too much away before it comes out. But I've been teasing a lot of it on my social media, and we're expecting that later this year. We're currently finishing production. We're going to get the edits out and start pitching it. I really wanted to. It was initially going to be on my YouTube. Now we've had some interest.
So you're going to pitch it out?
Yeah, it's going to be pitched ideally for a couple extra seasons to really make it a proper production.
Great.
Going back to the music, have you ever talked to Rebecca or Ivy and Sharashu about sort of playing around with music experiment?
Just in general, I mean, I've sent a couple of my tracks to Rebecca for notes, just because I appreciate her musical mind so much, and she's so good at what she does, and they were really helpful notes. I'm thinking I'll probably do it again here with because there's so much new stuff that she hasn't heard. Ivy hasn't heard my music, but she's been very supportive of me talking about it and pursuing it more in the future. They're great.
And then can we talk about Steven has been kind of working through the stages of grief with kind of accepting his mom wasn't super perfect. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's a big dynamic for Steven as the show goes on. Is he just wanted to meet his mom at first, and had all these questions about who she was. And now that he knows, he almost wishes he didn't in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And he still doesn't know definitive answers about a lot of things, and he was especially frustrated when the Gems wouldn't always tell him the truth about things or how things really were, and that's going to be a struggle for Steven for a while.
Follow up to that, what's it going to take for him to forgive her?
That is, at this point, because I don't know the whole story, I can't honestly say. I don't think Steven knows if he can at this point, and there's a lot of things that Rebecca and I have agreed that she wouldn't tell me, so that I can discover it in the moment. So that's a future thing that I'll have to find out eventually.
Good. We're all waiting for it, I'm sure.
Yeah, me included.
A lot of people and you've said before that you love the Cookie Cat rap.
Yeah.
The greatest.
But in addition to that, is there a line of dialogue or even a song that Steven sung in the series that you really really hold close to your heart?
From a song or just in general?
In general.
Oh man, there's so many. If you need a great actor, you've come to the right guy.
Oh my god, so good, that episode.
And then the Peter Pizzapopoulos thing, that's a more recent one.
So amazing.
Funny story about that. So the whole Steven saying random Italian words all the time and doing that weird Italian accent was not a plan from the beginning. I speak semi-fluently in Italian, and Rebecca found out about this. It's oh, we can totally use that. So now they just sprinkle it in when he's being goofy, arrivederci. And it's been a lot of fun.
So following up on Cookie Cat, let's talk about the depth of Cookie Cat and how it's kind of predicted the whole show.
Yeah, I've read that some fan commentary on that. I didn't even think once I found out about the whole guess what, the Gems are aliens, because that was one of the first episodes we recorded.
Yeah.
I've never actually asked her if that was intentional or not. That's really That's
and what was it like
insightful.
for you? How is it like to see that song is really blown up and people love the silly little song about a little ice cream sandwich?
It's awesome. I mean, to have people be so gung-ho about the show from episode 1 is really cool. And people ask me to do it at panels and stuff all the time, which is really fun, and I can get the crowd involved and everybody knows it.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Out of your relationships with Michaela and Dee Dee and Estelle, which of those most mirrors Steven's relationship with their respective gem?
All of them. I mean, from them to me and Grace, I've always said Rebecca nailed the casting because we were very close to our characters, all of us in real life. I don't know how she did it. But the relationship between Dee Dee and I is she's very much my second mom. If I type in mom on my phone, she comes up before my mom because she's listed as bird mom. Michaela, it feels like a big sister relationship for sure. It's cool to have that dynamic, and especially on an animated show where a lot of times they won't do ensemble record, so you record alone. We've been able to do that and become a family, and they're friends for life.
So what can fans look forward to in season 5?
And this guy's will be the last question.
I'm in there.
Well, we showed off some stuff on the panel, which I can't talk too much about, but there were some awesome sneak previews. I'm not the person qualified to be talking about what's coming up, but lots of drama, as Rebecca was saying in the panel earlier. It's it's a bit of a murder mystery, which is cool. So there's a lot of potential for crazy story arcs, which we may or may not pursue, or totally will pursue. I can't. I can't have more than that, but I know too much and I've said too much.
Awesome. Great.
Thank you so much.
We'll be back for you in just a minute.
Cool, thank you.
Cool.